ChatGPT Ads is live and you can now start advertising through ChatGPT.
I think it's going to be a good alternative to, I guess, what we've been used to when it comes to regular PPC platforms.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the PPC Cave with me, Ryan Fenton, and my co-host, Gene Villanos. And today is episode 112, I believe. And we're going to be talking about ChatGPT Ads. It's officially launched. It is in beta, but we're going to go through the first look appearance of the ad manager, what we already know, essentially, in this early kind of trial and testing days about ChatGPT Ads. But before we get into that, I want to say hello to you guys. It's been a couple of weeks since you've seen me, and it's good to be back on the episode on the channel with my co-host Gene. And hello to my co-host and my friend Gene. How you doing?
I am great. I'm happy that you're back. And I already know whenever Ryan is back, it's just twice the value, So it's just a good thing to have that the dual citizenship back together.
How's things been, man? I mean, it feels like I think it's been a month or two since we did a joint episode, right? We've been doing individual ones, passing ships, if you will. So
Yeah.
how's life?
Life is great. Life is great. Caught the golf bug as we've discussed earlier, as Ryan gave it to me. So it's now I've caught it, and it's just trying to navigate that along with business and family. But life's good, brother. What about you?
Yeah, same here, really. Working hard in the business, working hard in the gym as well. And yeah, just got back from a short break in Lanzarote with the missus. So that was really nice, just have a little bit of a break and let my hair down, the bits that I have left. But again, we're going away in a couple of weeks. I didn't say this to you before in the show notes or beforehand, but we're going away again in about 2 weeks, taking my daughter to Spain for the first time. She's never been on an airplane
Nice.
before, never been abroad before. So
Oh
she's
wow.
7, so it's going to be her first time actually going to another country. So excited about that. And yeah, her stepbrothers, they're always going on vacation, so on holiday. So they're used to it. They're proper jet setters. So we're going to have a nice little family holiday, the first one abroad. So that'll be really good. But yeah, get some more sun, get some more tan, and relax, I guess. So yeah, happy days.
Amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So guys, for me to join them in Spain, y'all are gonna need to like more of our videos, engage more, share our videos. We do this because we just want to help everybody out. So
That's
yeah, no,
right.
that's great to hear for sure.
And speaking of
Um,
that, I mean, we are big advocates of value on the PPC Cave. And from that, we have an extended free trial to offer you. If we haven't already mentioned it before, with our sponsor, Opteo. You may have seen our friend last week on an amazing episode with Gene, the beer swaggling, I don't know how you say it, beer hunching kind of lady from Opteo. I believe her name is Shakira. Um, she did a great episode with Gene talking all about the features of Opteo, and in all seriousness, they're really heading into a fantastic kind of future with, I believe, Claude and AI and what's on the horizon there. Some really great integrations and things like that in terms of what you can do and what you're now able to do with Google Ads inside Opteo. So normally you would have, I believe, a 14-day trial, but if you just go over to opteo.com/the PPC Cave, you can get an extended free trial of 28 days from Gene and I. So just be sure to take a look. Head on over to opteo.com/the PPC Cave for a 28-day free trial from us. You can see I've not been on the channel for a while. I'm a little bit rusty there, so you're going to have to hop in from time to time and help me out.
no, you're good. It's like riding a bike, right?
Yeah.
Or swinging a golf club.
Swinging the golf. I've got the grip on at the moment. I need to take the beginner grip off and swing naturally,
Yeah.
I guess. But
Slice it. Yeah.
slice it across. Exactly. That's exactly what I do. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
this episode we're going to be talking about ChatGPT ads. I believe, and I don't want to get too carried away here, but I think maybe we're one of the first channels to kind of mention about ChatGPT ads a few months ago, maybe even a year ago, when it had just come out. It was just kind of on the horizon, and we kind of covered it quite quickly, and that was with intention because it's not every day that a new system comes out where they're actually launching an ads platform, and ChatGPT has done just that. So now we have information, and we've seen, I believe, from SEO Roundtable, it could be, um,
Mm.
that yeah, ChatGPT Ads is live, and you can now start advertising through ChatGPT. So, Gene, initial thoughts on this kind of breaking news, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that OpenAI is launching the Chat GPT Ads Manager, I think that's the very obviously the very first step into the platform becoming more robust and adding more features from where it's at right now. Obviously, it's basically version 1.0 in the beta stage, but I mean, yeah, we've looked at it briefly and just what you could already do in it with like campaign creations, just like the budgets and CPC, conversion tracking, reporting. I think they know what they're doing. I think it's gonna be a good alternative to, I guess, what we've been used to when it comes to regular PPC platforms that we operate, like Google Ads.
Absolutely. And I want to share this article if I'm allowed to. So I'm going to share my screen. So, yeah, this is what we have. And this came out pretty much yesterday. And it was from Search Engine Roundtable. I said
Mm.
SEO Roundtable. I think that's also what it's called. I'm not sure. But yeah, so this is what we have. OpenAI has released ChatGPT Ads. They've got some information there. And if you want to go to this article, you can do. But they do a really nice video where they talk about and show basically what it looks like. And to me, upon first glances, it does look very basic. I don't know if
Mm.
that is by design and that is the intention, so that people can just run it themselves. Even still, I think there is a lot of manual work that does need to be done within ChatGPT Ads to keep it running. Because from what they were saying in this video, is there's an area where you download a spreadsheet, you upload or you put in all the information that you want, assuming the ad creation, the settings, things like that, and then you re-upload it into the ad platform itself. So that's quite interesting and a little bit surprising to me, because I would have expected that we would have had something where if you go into Google Ads at the moment, you see the Gemini integration where it can help you write your ads. I would have expected something similar to that, because obviously this is AI. I would have thought ChatGPT or OpenAI would have implemented something similar where you can just help choose AI to write your ads for you. But what I'm seeing here is very manual and almost a mix between Google Ads and Facebook. If we see here in the, we can find it in this kind of Ads Manager campaign overview, very reminiscent of how it is laid out in terms of Meta, in terms of Facebook ads, if you will. So there's a lot of similarities in terms of the design and the look and feel between that and Meta, but also elements of Google Ads, I believe, with the CPC, max CPC bids and things like that, and yeah, things like that. So I've spoke a lot. I'm going to let Gene do a lot of talking around this. I mean, what's your thoughts in terms of the design, the look, the feel? Do you see any similarities? And what's your thoughts also about what I said about ChatGPT being a little bit more manual and not really having that AI integration of ad creation and things?
Yeah, yeah. I know. To answer that question, you would think that would be automatically put into the platform, but I guess I do understand that it's like a separate engine that they're trying to build, right now, like getting the groundwork of just how the actual platform is versus the integration on top. And I do see that coming though, for sure. I do see that coming when it comes to, in the future. But I think the biggest takeaway is like the question of, why does this even matter? Like, is this really going to overtake all of the other platforms? And uh, it for me, I do see this as like the next iteration or evolution of how Google Ads, Microsoft, PPC, Meta, all of that was just kind of like, still in play, but this is like a new iteration or evolution. And it kind of like makes me think like Google Ads versus ChatGPT. Like, how do we even search on ChatGPT compared to Google Ads? Is ChatGPT going to be more focused on? Obviously, it will be with conversational intent, where you start with a conversation and then it leads to the call of action because you've gone from research to intentionality, and can they measure the intentionality of a specific searcher or interaction that will give them a different landing page? If it's like the intention is really, it's a lot, is that now someone that's having a high max CPC going to be plugged in there, as opposed to if someone's still into the introductional research stage, will it be someone that has a low CPC, or what we call in Google Ads a low quality score that will be shown? So there's a lot of questions, but yeah, I think it's definitely basic, like you said, early stage platform. But I'm just curious on kind of how it works for sure. I want to play with it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. And I think this is good because it is obviously in beta or beta still. So, for a lot of people that are, PPC experts, I think this is an easy introduction where, we can go in, we can test, we can set up campaigns and see what kind of results we start to see. I can't remember the numbers. I want to say the figure 700 million weekly active users originally were on ChatGPT. But I
Nice.
believe that was last year. Now, I still believe that ChatGPT is the leader in the market. However, a lot of maybe technologically advanced people, or maybe people. What am I trying to say? People that are in technology maybe are drifting more towards things like Gemini, where it's more Google based and it can read Google Docs and Google Sheets and your Google Drive and can watch YouTube videos and things like that. Or maybe people are moving more to Claude, where you've got Claude Co-work and things like that, and all that kind of stuff. Claude Code, I believe it's called. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't really use that side of it. I only use just normal Claude, but there's a lot to consider there. But is ChatGPT still one of the main sort of like LLMs that people use and gravitate towards? And I think for the general public and the general person, I believe it is. So that's 700 million weekly active users, if that's still accurate or not. It makes sense to utilize that as an advertising platform to get eyes in front of people in terms of what your products are, what your services are, things like that. And we can see here, I tried to find it in the video, and it says context hints. So rather than say like bidding on keywords, rather than more interest and demographic based targeting that Meta has, this appears to use something similar to keywords in terms of context hints. So you would add some things like, if you're a pizza place, you maybe have like pizza restaurant, or like whatever it might be, pizza place and things like that, to kind of get to your ads to show up. Now, to Gene's point, when people are searching for best pizza places near me on ChatGPT, is it the same thing that they see when they're on Google as well? Is it that kind of same, people are best pizza places near me, and then you see the ad? I don't really know how it's going to trigger these ads and things like that. I think there's a lot of questions, at least from Gene and I, at a very early stage, only just seeing this and having this kind of demo walkthrough. There's a lot more questions than there are answers at this stage. But again, it is in beta, so we'll probably learn as we go on. But Gene, is this something that you would look to learn as a PPC expert, as a marketing professional, and maybe test with some of your clients? Or would you say, well, it's only just launched, let's just see how the market kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? The market responds to ChatGPT ads, and then decide, okay, we're going to test it? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the testing question for me would absolutely like derive from what features we currently have in it, because the worst thing is, like, I don't know if y'all play video games. Like back then, I'd play video games and I would get a video game on the day of, right, its release, like 2K, and then I jump on and try to play all the features, or play all the online stuff, and it doesn't even work. So it's like, I don't want to be the dummy that spends $1,000, $5,000 on these early features, and it's like, what are the early features we get, and is it something that I want to learn and spend money on? But what you mentioned with the CPC bidding, now they have pixel tracking, um, you know uh, the conversion tracking is set up. I think there is agency access. I tried to set up as an agency, but it didn't let me for some reason. So I don't know if I have to do that as an individual business. But those are the questions, first. But of course, yeah, I do want to adopt. I do want to try it out, but some of the key questions for marketers or advertisers would be like, is the attribution, how does the attribution work? Is it something that's like, if someone searches something, oh, yep, there goes, a chat GPT conversion because they searched it? Or is it a little bit more robust and a little bit more detailed than that? But yeah, man, I'm just curious, like the conversational prompts replacing keywords. It's more like theme based, journey based, basically. It's not just like red shoes near me, or Starbucks near me. And how does it affect the location? With Google, you have a Google My Business profile linked to Google Maps, linked to Google Ads, linked to Google.com. So the infrastructure of saying anything near me in Google is top notch, just because the information is all there. So it's like, is this better for, what would it be better for? Like, what type of clients would this work for at this early beta stage? Or do we just play around and test it for our own website? I'm leaning towards, I don't know if this is a service package that I want to introduce to any current client yet, but I do think it'd be fun for me to play around just at a small bid campaign budget for my own Tempest59.com. What about you, Ryan? How do you think you'll utilize this?
I think there's going to be a big spike right now of, there's an opportunity right now. And I'm happy to tell people that if you can understand how to set up a campaign and launch and run a ChatGPT Ads campaign, I think you're going to be in demand right now, because I imagine not a lot of people are going to be doing that. And I think a lot of businesses are going to want to have this. So I think I see that demand. So if you can learn how to set up a campaign, run it, optimize it, and things like that, I think you're going to be in demand. I think there's going to be a lot of businesses that do want it. So that's number one. But personally for me, I would rather, and I did this with showing my age now, but I did this with Performance Max. I was very hesitant to adopt it very early on when it had just been released. I wanted to give it 3 or 4 months, just to kind of
Yeah.
see what the general, market impression was of Performance Max. And I feel like I remember back in the early days of Performance Max being launched, it was 50-50. Some people really loved it. Some people really were still unsure about it. Now you speak to most people, I think there's a favor of Performance Max. I think there's still probably 20% of people that don't like Performance Max, and I think 70, maybe 80% of people that do. But yeah, it's still not 100% everybody loves it. I think if you spoke to most people, everybody loves a search campaign, right? A Google Ads search campaign. I don't think anyone really doesn't like it. So that's a go-to, whereas Performance Max is still on the fence. I believe ChatGPT could go the same way. I think that for me, I would rather evaluate what everybody else thinks of the platform first before going all in. So for me, I'm in no hurry. Those of you who do want to kind of have demand and have businesses knocking on your door to say, can you run ChatGPT ads for me? Then by all means, go and do that. I think you'll get a lot of business that way. But for me, I'd rather just hold off steady a little bit, see what people say. It's not the top of my priority list now. But if a client says, can we test ChatGPT ads? I'll be like, absolutely, we can do that. So I wouldn't go out of my way to promote it, but if a client said, can you do it? Then I would learn and probably do it. And obviously knowledge of Meta, as well as knowledge of Google Ads and things like Microsoft Ads as well. I think it's an easy transition to understand and set something up. One thing Gene mentioned there as well, which I thought was quite interesting, attribution. And I've paused it on the bit where they kind of show conversion event here, and we've got add an event. And the lady in the video, briefly talks about, oh, you just set up your conversion here and you're good to go. They kind of gloss over one of the key features, I believe, or at least one of the most important features in really any advertising platform, whether it be Meta or Google Ads. I think understanding and tracking KPIs in conversion events is really, really key. So they didn't really go too much in depth in that on the video, and I saw it there. As you can see, conversion event is here, but she didn't really talk about that. So that was just something that caught me a little bit off guard, that they didn't really go too much into that. It's like, this is how you set up your conversions, and then that was it. They didn't really show you anything. They didn't show you any conversions set. They just said, this is where you do it. They didn't show the how. I appreciate this is more of a top level introduction video. Maybe in the following days, following weeks, they'll start going deeper on certain specific aspects of ChatGPT Ads and the Ads Manager. Conversion events is something that I definitely want to see more of, about how difficult is it to set up a conversion event. Is it as challenging as something like Meta? Is it a bit more straightforward but still even challenging as Google Ads? Or is there something like an AI integration where it's going to assist you in getting your conversion tracking set up, which would be quite handy. So that's just some things that I picked up on there. Any thoughts about that, Gene? I know you mentioned attribution before, but I just wanted to highlight that in the video.
Yeah, I think the attribution is important because at this point, it's like, is it going to be just first click or last click strategy, like the very old school before we had the data driven, option or attribution? And yet it might be, I feel like even with TikTok and Meta, attribution has been loose, where if you even scroll on an ad, oh, you looked at our ad and you purchased, it's like the return on ad spend goes up. So will it be as loose as something like Meta? Would it be as a little bit tighter with Google Ad, like how Google Ads is, where you can actually like break it down? I think I don't see it being as tight as Google Ads, just because what is there the analytics portion of this also? Because we have Google Analytics when it comes to Google Ads, right? Where it's like those are two separate entities that are very, you could drill down and really create reporting. So how is the reporting going to be shown on ChatGPT Ads? But I think again it's in beta, so I think this will definitely come later. I doubt that they're gonna continue to gloss over that as they have now. Hopefully they don't. But yeah, no, that's definitely important. And just like even like with the questions that I have, like for myself, is like, you know, uh, will there be more engagement, here on ChatGPT ads compared to like display? Like now we have like different forms, right? We have like interruption marketing, as they call it. Like if it was on display, or like Meta, you're scrolling on Instagram and or on your feed and you get an ad. Or is it more so like google.com, where you're actually actively looking to research? And I'm thinking that it's going to be the latter, just because you're having a conversation, and you're trying to figure something out. And there's a point in time where you want to take that conversation to the next level from research to actual action, So, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And, how does that work for me? But for you, I do want to ask you a question, like,
Mm.
uh, are there anything that you think will change, or we got to start learning if we do want to master this in the future? Like I'll give you a little starter. For me, it's like the conversational intent, of the product or the service. I think understanding the conversational intent is just different from just, basketball shoes near me. That's so short. But, for the content to actually matter and the conversation to matter, it needs to be a full on back and forth conversation where you're probing into someone's search instead of just getting that one liner. So that's one thing that I'll, ask you, or what about like the landing pages? Is it gonna, will it be just be blogs that actually give you information and be a hard CTA call to action at the bottom? Will those really take over as one of the best ways to have an AI friendly landing page? Would that need to be on your Shopify or your Squarespace or your Wix? So just curious on like if you think there's anything we should be learning or trying to just get a better grasp on.
Yeah, no, really good questions, and I think this sums up this kind of podcast episode really, because every time we have an answer, there's almost like three more questions we have to that point,
Yeah.
right? With this, and again, it's in beta, whatever you call it, mode. So it's early days, but I just feel like there's so many questions unanswered at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the point, but I think that if this is done correctly, it can laser target products and services potentially better than what Google can. If you do a
Yeah.
search on Google, then Google's like, it gives you the list and it's like, okay, take a look at this one, take a look at that one. But with conversational AI and, LLMs and things like that, you can really get specific on what you're looking for. For example, I'll
Mhm.
give you a real life example of what I did yesterday, like last night, is that At the moment, I'm losing weight. I'm on a calorie deficit, so I'm very, very conscious of how many calories I consume per day, and what my sugar intake is, what my protein intake is, and things like that. But I love a good protein bar, because I'm a fat guy at heart, right? So I love having chocolate bars, and a protein bar is just that. So I was asking Claude, I was like, can you recommend some high protein, low sugar, low calorie protein bars? And it gave me some, and I think, well, what about this one? Can you compare this one to some others? And you can go very, very granular and detailed onto exactly what you're looking for. And maybe you have that, and you can do that already within Google because you have previous knowledge. But if you don't, and you never heard of a product before, then that's a good way of introducing a new product or service. Like, okay, I'm thinking about this. I'm not sure if this is what I need. And then it's like, well, you could try this, you could try that. And then you're having that conversation back and forth with ChatGPT or whatever it might be. And then over time, you understand, actually, this is exactly what I need. It's this specific service or this specific product. And then you can go and buy that. So I don't know in what levels that's going to work in terms of, do you pay more for people going specifically like exact match because they're looking for exactly that product? And then that's how it works, like a filtering system where you start really broad and it's cheap, but as they go down the funnel, you pay more because they know exactly what they want. I don't know how it's going to work really, but I would think that, to Gene's point, to what you said, conversational AI is going to help you understand what specific product and service you want, and then utilizing that with ads could make it more laser focused. So you're going to get better fit customers and clients based off what they're searching. And does that make sense? I'm not sure if that's a good
Yeah.
answer and if you understand what I'm saying
Yeah.
there, but yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's yeah, it's a good point. And like you said, it's this is new, and this is something that is going to continually evolve, and we're going to get more answers in the future. What I think ChatGPT or just AI in general does a great job of is, if your question is answered, then they want to give you a follow up to try to stay on the platform. So for whatever Ryan just mentioned with protein bar, it could be the search like, what is the best protein bar for my XYZ goals? They'll list you out like First Form, Quest, or whatever, give you the links to that. And we're like, if I answered your question, do you now want to look at the best protein shakes or the best protein high rich protein snacks, or even like the healthiest restaurants near you? And then
Mm.
that would be great if that was something that they embedded into the actual ChatGPT ads, where you come in asking for a specific, answer that, then give them, then there's three different links that are three supplement or complementary adjacent businesses after, and you could pick, and then that brings traffic to another area. So I think there's a lot of, I hope and I wish type of things they do this, and also the reality. But as Ryan said, it's still in beta, so it's to be seen, I guess. TBD, to be determined.
I think they should have given us the gig. I think we could have fleshed out and mapped out, ChatGPT ads. What you were saying just then, like, oh, it'd be cool to do this, it'd be cool to do that. I'm thinking, yeah, we could have like spearheaded this project and delivered it to market.
Dude, we've been, doing this for so long. Like, we understand how people search, and we understand. Yeah, man. Yeah. All right, OpenAI, if you're listening, we'll take a cool 500 million each, and then we'll be good. And then,
There you go.
that's it. That's
Absolutely.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Cool.
it's good.
Any sign off thoughts? Any final thoughts on? Well, let's talk about this then. Let's kind of final thought. Future of pay per click. Is this going to change the market and the whole like platform of pay per click as we know it? In terms of, we have Google Ads, it's traditional search. We've kind of, millennials, we've all kind of grown up naturally with Ask Jeeves, Yahoo, Google. We've kind of done that, and it's kind of like a part of us in a sense. It's just naturally how we've learned how to browse the internet. Is this the new like brother coming in and taking over and saying, no, this now is going to be, what do they call it, generative engine optimization or AI or whatever it is, of running ads through Claude, running ads through Gemini, and running ads through ChatGPT? Is it PPC over? Is this a new form of marketing and advertising?
Yeah, I think that's a good sign off question. I'll answer it and I'll, get your take. But I think, my take is I think the conversational intent is huge. And I think that's why ChatGPT kind of skyrocketed. Obviously, it's branded as AI, but essentially at the core, it's conversation, a conversation. And with a conversation, you have an LLM asking more questions to probe into what you really want. And I think that's, an invaluable platform if ChatGPT ads can really take advantage of that. Because there's going to be a lot more people just staying on ChatGPT compared to a quick search on Google Ads. They get what they want and then they're done, or even on Meta, they go through, scroll, 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 click, opt in, then they're done. But with ChatGPT, I could see the process spanning multiple days. What if it's someone saying, "Hey, ChatGPT or Claude, create me an itinerary or what I got to do if I want to go to Lanzarote, travel, hotel, car." That's three different links, maybe in a span of 1 week, where they're going back to that same GPT or search conversation that they've saved, going back to that. And if they could integrate ads into that in a way that's, I think effective, I believe that this could be, one of the things that take market share away from Google, Meta, all the above. What about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned. I mean, I just wanted to pose the question as such. I do think it's going to have its own place. It could be the next evolution of marketing, if you will, but I still think there's going to be a place for traditional search, if you will, like SEO and PPC as we know it, going through Google and doing a search that way. I still think it's got its place. Otherwise, maybe Google wouldn't be still pushing it, and maybe they will be focusing on other things, other platforms. We have seen Gemini start to come up and integrate with other platforms and the Google ecosystem, if you will. But time will tell. That's all I can really say. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball of what the next 5 to 10 years looks like in terms of marketing, in terms of PPC specifically. But this is the first step in really having advertising within, as far as I'm aware, having advertising within a Chat GPT, a Claude, a Gemini. So we'll see what happens, but it'll just be interesting, and I'm sure the competitive market will be analyzing OpenAI and this introduction into ads closely, and Google, with the success they've had with Google Ads, you would only think that if this takes off, that they won't be far behind with their own version of including ads within Gemini, for example. I'm pretty sure they've already got like AI responses coming through on Google search. Whether it's going to go the other way around, whether they're going to start showing ads within Gemini, I don't really know. So who knows is the answer, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'm wondering with Google, would it just be like a different campaign type where it's just strictly on Gemini, or like if they're just going to integrate it with all the or all the
Mm.
campaign types currently, where it's like AI Max, where you could just toggle show on Gemini searches or something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think this is
Well,
a good
before you sign
episode.
off as well, I'd say to our
Yeah.
listeners, let us know what you think. I mean, I know there's a
Mm.
lot of marketing professionals, whether you're in house, whether you're agency side, whether you're business owners as well, whatever you might be. I know we've got a lot of people that listen into the PPC Cave on a weekly basis, which is good. So please write in, send us an email at theppccave@gmail.com and let us know your thoughts, or just comment on these podcasts or videos, and let us know what your thoughts are in terms of the direction that marketing and advertising and PPC is heading in, especially with ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and a lot of these different frameworks. So we want to hear from you, and I think our listeners are very quiet, and that's fine. We want to try and deliver as much value and give you guys the best content as possible. But at the same time, we'd love to hear from you. So if you guys have any thoughts, any personal or professional thoughts on, AI in terms of PPC and ChatGPT ads, just let us know.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You could email us, comment. We're always willing to engage. Sometimes I get on the TikTok and I'm like, oh crap, someone messaged us and like, oh hey, we're here. So we try to do our best. It's just me, and Ryan, doing it, and then we have our editor Joel. But it's a small team, so we do appreciate any engagement. Just to keep us going and just to kind of encourage that what we're doing as a topic is relevant. So, any final thoughts? Sign off, Ryan, before we hit the road.
Yeah, no, I think an honourable shout out would be to a couple of people, I guess. The honourable member of the PPC Cave, Shakira. He said it's a small team, but she's kind of becoming the fourth member, I guess you could say. The fact that she's been on a couple of
Yeah.
episodes now, and
Mhm.
she always comes in with fantastic insight in terms of market trends, in terms of just like AI and like Google Ads and and Opteo, of course. So if you haven't already, go back last week, listen to that episode. I'm pretty sure we've got a recap as well. So just listen to that one. Gene and Shakira do a fantastic rundown of Opteo and how they're transitioning more into AI and other platforms, which is just a really good listen. So I'd urge from that. And something as well that Gene hit me up with a couple of weeks ago, he's probably forgotten, but he sent me a link, and apparently there's a guy out there who gave us I think we were top 10 or something in terms of podcasts that talk
Yeah.
about Google Ads. I'm not sure if you actually shouted this guy out on a previous episode. I can't remember. I
No.
couldn't hear it. So I thought, hey, we'd give this guy a bit of a shout out to say thank you for including us in your, a bit of a rundown in terms of, I think it was something like best Google Ads or PPC podcasts of 2026. Was it? I'm not sure.
Mhm.
You saw it. You
Yeah.
sent it to me. You were
Y-
stoked. You were like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it was maybe he just used AI and just pulled
no,
all
maybe.
these Google
Yeah.
Ads podcasts together. But yeah, no, shout out to him. I forgot his name, but
Yeah.
that's
That's
that,
cool.
that's cool. That was cool to see. That was
That was
definitely
cool to
cool to
see.
see.
But yeah, no, that's kind of it from me. So I don't know if you want to do the sign off and we'll head home.
Yeah, y'all know we always release every Monday, 12 a.m. Mountain Time, wherever that is. We're all over social media, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and of course, we're on Spotify, Spotify video, regular Spotify. If you just don't want to see our beautiful faces, you could just listen in your car, and Apple Podcasts. So we do this for y'all, and we appreciate if you also want to check out Opteo. Again, that's www.opteo.com/. The PPC Cave. And Ryan, I want you to sign off. I want you to sign off and tell them goodbye in your own lovely British way. Go ahead,
British accent. Uh, Top of the morning to you. No, that's Irish. Good day, mate. No, that's Australian. No, I don't know. I've forgotten how to say goodbye. I mean, typically we normally say, where can they find you at? Because I don't really have, I'm in between things at the moment. It's like
Yeah.
that Facebook status of it's complicated. That's where I'm at the moment. So where can people find Gene Villanos if they need you?
Yeah, you could find me at Tempest59. That is Tempest, the number 5, the number 9.com.
Very cool. And if you want me, then I guess you can just find me at my email address currently, which is ryan@ryanfentonppc.co.uk. And if there's nothing else, we'll speak to you all next time. Take care.